Snow muffles the city in a way that makes every crime feel personal. That was my first thought the night I found the third body. The park lay under a sheet of white so smooth, it almost looked untouched. Tall black trees clawing into a dull winter sky. Leaf tape flapped lazily between branches, snapping in the wind like something alive. I stood over the corpse with my hands buried in the pockets of my wool coat, the cold biting through the seams. Officer Ramirez stood beside me, breathing fog into the night air after muttering a quiet Jesus. The victim was young, maybe 25, lying on his back with snow collecting in the hollows of his open eyes. But it wasn't the frozen stare that made people turn away. It was the mouth. The cut began at one corner of his lips and stretched almost to his ear. The other side matched it perfectly. Clean, precise, a grotesque smile carved into his face. The medical examiner crouched beside the body and sighed as she studied the wound. Same as the others, she said, pulling back slightly. Blade sharp, no hesitation marks. I frowned and looked closer. No defensive wounds. She shook her head. None. Whatever killed him, he didn't fight back. The wind steered through the trees again, carrying the slow creak of branches above us. I took a breath that tasted like ice and iron. My hands were shaking, though not entirely from the cold. Withdrawal had its own quiet tremor. I had limited myself to 2 drinks that evening, trying to prove something to myself that no one else cared about anymore. My ex-wife's voice still echoed in my memory from 3 weeks earlier when she dropped the divorce papers onto my kitchen counter. You smell like a bar every night, Daniel. I don't even know who you are anymore. I rubbed my eyes and stared again at the carved smile on the corpse. 3 victims, same park, same mutilation. No witnesses, no motive. And the city has started whispering. The only witness appeared 2 days later. Kevin Takahashi was a pale middle-aged accountant with trembling hands that clutched a coffee cup like it might anchor him into reality. He sat across from me, in the interview room, shoulders hunched, eyes darting occasionally toward the mirror behind me. I know it sounds crazy, he said quietly. I heard that sentence more times than I can count. Well, start from the beginning, I told him. He swallowed before speaking again. It was snowing. I was cutting through the park to get home. Then I saw her. I wrote lazily in my notebook. Her? He nodded at me. A woman. I didn't look up yet. What kind of woman? He hesitated as if the word itself carried weight. Beautiful, he replied. That made me raise my eyes. Takahashi leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping. She was standing under a streetlight, just staring at me. Did she approach you? I asked. Yes. And? His fingers tightened around the cup. She wore a long coat, red scarf, and it was covering her mouth. I shrugged. Cold night. He shook his head slowly. No. "You don't understand," he said. His eyes flicked again toward the mirror. She asked me something. I sighed and tapped my pen. "What did she ask?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "She asked, 'Do you think I'm beautiful?'" The room felt suddenly smaller. I leaned back slightly in my chair. "And what did you say?" "I said yes," he answered quickly. "Of course I said yes. She was gorgeous." His voice trembled now. Then she took off the scarf. I waited. "She had a cut across her mouth," he said, "from ear to ear." Silence settled under the humming fluorescent lights. "And then?" I asked quietly. "She asked me again," he said, his voice cracking this time. She said, 'How about now?'" I rubbed my jaw slowly. "And you ran?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "I said she was averaged." I blinked. "You what?" "In Japan, it's a trick," he explained nervously. "An old legend." I almost laughed in front of him. I had heard it before. Kuchisake-Onna, the Slit-Mouthed Woman. A jealous samurai supposedly mutilates his beautiful wife after accusing her of betrayal. Her spirit wanders the streets wearing a mask, asking strangers if she's beautiful. If they say no, she kills them. If she says yes, she removes the mask and asks again. If the answer is wrong the second time, she carves their mouths open to match her own. It was the sort of folklore parents told children to keep them from wandering alone at night. It wasn't homicide. I closed the notebook. "Mr. Takahashi," I said gently, "are you aware that 3 men have been murdered in that park?" He nodded slowly. "And you're telling me the killer is a Japanese ghost?" His eyes locked onto mine. "I'm telling you, that woman was not human." I stood up and gathered the file. "I'll note your statement." He suddenly grabbed my sleeve, his grip desperate. "Detective, if you see her, don't answer the question." I gently removed his hand. "Thank you. I'll keep that in mind." Of course I didn't believe him. But 3 nights later, I found myself walking alone through the same park anyway. Snow drifted down as soft, silent curtains. The streetlights glowed dimly through the falling white pale halos. I took a slow swig from the flask in my coat pocket, letting the whiskey burn down my throat until the cold receded slightly. That was when I saw her. She stood beneath a street lamp exactly where Mr. Takahashi had described. Her figure still and quiet against the falling snow. A woman with long dark hair and a red scarf wrapped around the lower half of her face. She watched me approach, as if she had been expecting me. My pulse quickened. "Evening," I called. She tilted her head slightly, her eyes reflecting the pale light of the snow. They were striking, large, and dark, watching me with a kind of patient curiosity. I walked closer, boots scrunching softly. "You out here alone?" I asked. She nodded once. Up close I could see her breath fogging behind the scarf, though strangely, she she didn't seem cold at all. You know, there have been some murders in this park, I continued. Another small nod. Dangerous place to walk alone. She remained silent for a moment before speaking at last, her voice soft and strangely melodic. May I ask you something first? Something in my chest tightened as I nodded. Sure, I replied. She looked directly into my eyes. Do you think I'm beautiful? The words landed like ice water. I studied her for a moment. Even with half her face covered, there was something undeniably captivating about her presence. Something magnetic and unsettling at the same time, like standing too close to the edge of a cliff. You might be, I said carefully. Hard to tell with the scarf. She considered that answer before slowly lowering the fabric. The scar stretched across her mouth, exactly as described. Deep and grotesque, running from ear to ear. My breath caught. You're the one, I murmured. Her eyes brightened slightly. Yes, she said softly. I have been watching you. A chill crawled down my spine. Watching me? You investigate, she replied. You search for meaning. She stepped closer, snow falling gently between us. You smell of alcohol. I gave a weak smile. Occupational hazard. Her gaze lingered on my face longer than was comfortable. You are lonely, she said. The words struck harder than they should have. You read people that well, I asked. She shook her head slightly. I read wounds. Her finger rose slowly, tracing the air near my lips without touching them. You carry many, she said. For a moment, the park seemed to disappear around us. Only her eyes and the falling snow remained. You're supposed to ask me something, I said quietly. She smiled wider, the scar stretching. I already did, she said. The legend returned to me then. If you say yes, she shows the mouth. Then she asked again. Her voice came again, soft and curious. How about now? The wind steered through the bare branches overhead as my pulse hammered in my ears. I studied the terrible scar, the stretched smile that had terrified the city. But beneath it, her eyes carried something else, something ancient and sad, like centuries of wandering through winter nights, asking the same question to strangers who always answered wrong. You know, I said slowly. I read something about you. Her head tilted slightly. Oh, a jealous husband, I said. A ruined face. She watched me carefully. You study monsters. I study murderers, I replied. Snow thickened around us. And what am I? She asked. I met her gaze. A woman who wants someone to say the right thing. Silence stretched between us. For a moment, her expression softened in a way that almost looked fragile. Then the wind lifted strands of her hair as something beneath her skin began to move. Her jaw slowly stretched wider, impossibly wide, the scar pulling apart as the flesh opened like a terrible flower. Rows of sharp teeth appeared within the widening mouth. Her eyes burned now with something ancient and inhuman. And still she stared straight into mine. Snow drifted across her ruined smile as her voice echoed softly in the winter air. "Tell me, detective," she whispered gently, tilting her head as the slit widened further. "Do you think I'm beautiful?"
This concludes our story. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.